Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Welcome everybody, episode 71 of Get Paid for Your Pad. Today I'm here with Andrew Kitchell. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
How are you doing today?
Today's a great day. How are you, Jasper?
I'm good. I'm in Vegas right now. Great place. A little bit hot. It was over 115 degrees yesterday.
Oh my God.
So, fortunately I have air conditioning. So that
yeah.
helps. What about you? Where are you right now?
We are in San Francisco. We have an office in downtown San Francisco, and we're a team of 6 that's gathered right in the heart of downtown.
So tell us a little bit about what you do with PriceMethod.
Sure. So PriceMethod is a free pricing service, and what we do is we help people who run vacation rentals, whether it's a HomeAway, an Airbnb, any property. We help them price their home perfectly.
Okay, great.
And our goal, we're basically a team of data scientists, and our goal is to use a lot of information from hotels, how cities are booking on any given day, how your neighborhood's booking, and how your unique home fits into the marketplace to understand how to price you.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk about that more later in the episode, but let's start with you. Can you give us a background of yourself?
Sure. So I'm now a long-time resident of San Francisco. I've been here about 8 years and moved here and got swept up in the tech scene really right as the phenomenon known as Airbnb was taking off. And I was actually roommates with an individual who was in the YC class with Airbnb. And so we started hearing about this very interesting phenomenon of people renting out their homes and making money and making new friends and having fun on doing it right as it was kicking off, literally when it was still Air bed and breakfast. And it just seemed like such a crazy idea that our home was very excited to test out. So we were actually very early members of the Airbnb community and have since hosted probably hundreds of people and traveled many times as well through the platform. So for my background, I always focused on working on products to help consumers and worked in the real estate space for a while and actually ended up managing about 50 properties on Airbnb in San Francisco last year and realized there was an opportunity to become even more involved in the community, build tools for people who were hosts like myself, and to really build some pretty interesting products. So that's the quick and dirty version of some of my background and some of my involvement in Airbnb in the larger community.
So when did you start hosting on Airbnb?
God, probably 2000 and let's see. When was the first year you could host on Airbnb?
I think it must have been like early 2009 or maybe late 2008.
Yeah, so probably, I bet by the Democratic National Convention when Airbnb was getting press, we'd already tried it out. And I used Airbnb at first because I was starting another company at the time, and Airbnb was the only way I could afford to live in San Francisco.
Right.
And it was, I would go stay at a friend's house or my sister's house in town and rent out my room and come back in the morning and cook breakfast. And it was essential for me to survive. It was, an amazing thing. And we were a house of, there was 5 college friends, so we loved having people around. And it's pretty funny, one of my early guests, I actually got a call from Airbnb one day and they said, "Hey, would you like to host Brian Chesky for a couple of nights at your home?" And I said, "Absolutely." And they said, "Well, would you mind if we had CBS News come by in the morning and film at your home? We'd like you to serve Brian breakfast and you can, we're going to have a film crew there. Would you be okay with that?" We said, "Absolutely." And so that evening at about 10 o'clock, Brian Chesky showed up at our house, and we hung out for a while, and all the roommates had gotten together. We prepared a feast with mimosas, and it was a full spread of fresh fruit from the Mission, the neighborhood we lived in, and had a great morning hanging out with Brian and going, kind of showing what it was like to host on Airbnb. So yeah, we've been longtime hosts. Love the platform. Love obviously what it's inspired, and our reason for getting involved in it is we just think we're really at the start of where Airbnb and where home rentals and shared economy, where it's going to go. And Jasper, you and I have talked a little bit about this, but it's a phenomenon that we think is going to continue to really become a major component of both how we travel and how we live. And so it's a pretty exciting time for us to hop in and really start working with hosts to help build ever better businesses. So,
yeah, I totally agree. I recently heard that brand recognition for Airbnb is less than 1% worldwide.
Yeah.
So imagine how big it could be.
It's going to be so big, and you see the numbers from the recent World Cup, where I think 25% of all people visiting Brazil were staying on Airbnb. And if you look at some of the numbers we're seeing just in terms of how many people are now traveling on Airbnb and how many people are actually starting to use sites like Tripping as well, there's so much growth around the industry that it's fun to see this kind of niche idea turn into such a major trend and really to become just a fundamental way of again, how we travel and live.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's also really interesting to see how many Airbnb type platforms are popping up in other areas. I was just talking to somebody from the Netherlands yesterday who has launched a platform called Barco, BARQO.nl. And what they do is they're basically an Airbnb for boats.
Love it.
And that's a great idea because I don't know if you've ever had a boat, but I know that people who do, they don't use it very often.
Certainly.
You know what I mean? It's and so like most people probably have their boat just lying around in the harbor for the better part of the year, and so it's just an amazing opportunity, it's just a great way to share and like bring down the expenses, because it's quite expensive to have a boat, I think.
Absolutely, and we're talking to an increasing number of. It's amazing how many investors have adopted this thesis as well, and we'll speak to someone where they said, the cost of owning an asset actually increases when you have the ability to sell it all the time, whether it's your home, your boat, your car. And increasingly, we seem to be moving towards a society where the ownership of assets is less important, where individuals value experiences, connections to such a higher degree, and where unique experiences are really valued too. And one place we see that is just if you look at Instagram or Facebook, people are never sharing photos of their hotel rooms. Very rarely. Maybe they'll show a picture of their Las Vegas hotel. That might be more interesting. But at the same time, people who are traveling to these unique homes and listings or staying with hosts or owners are always sharing their photos and telling their friends about this amazing place they went to visit in California or France or wherever it may be. And really it defines, our generation is a bit defined by this willingness to share, our ability to find out enough about each other that we can trust people. And also that the cost of owning a home just for yourself is actually, from an opportunity cost, just from a pure economic standpoint, is increasing. So it's almost a convergence of factors in both how we live and how we want to live, and also our ability to discover these new interesting places that makes this phenomenon. It just makes it clear how big and how powerful this phenomenon is going to be.
What exactly do you mean by the opportunity cost has increased?
Sure. Well, let's say you have a car or a boat or a home, and every day you could be renting out that car or your home or an extra room or a boat. And when you don't do it, you're essentially losing money, right? So some people might say, well, I want my home for myself, and that's fine. You can make that decision. But now that we can trust people to to borrow our cars, borrow our boats, come stay at our home. Because that market is now so vibrant, so trusted, it's really a decision that you now make the decision not to rent out your home as opposed to rent out your home. That's actually the transition. Maybe that's just what we're seeing in San Francisco because rent is so high, and people need to find ways to essentially monetize their home. But certainly right now, it's going to be increasingly rare to find a spare room in San Francisco that's not available for rent on any given day. So the opportunity cost is simply, if you decide not to rent out your room, you're losing money because it's so easy now to sell it, because it's so easy now to be a host, because it's so easy now to maybe even be a host with multiple properties. It's just less and less likely that a room will stay vacant.
Right. So it really increases the efficiency of how we use space.
Absolutely.
Which is great. And it's a good point that you make. I remember the first time I realized this a couple of years ago. I was at my own apartment in Amsterdam, and I was probably renting it out for about €200 a night at the time. And I was just sitting in my living room and thinking like, hey, I could be making €200 tonight.
Yeah.
And also, and then I thought, well, my friend lives like a couple blocks away. I know he has a spare room that no one's using. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep the calendar open. And sure enough, I got a booking the next day. So I just called my friend. I was like, hey, can I crash in your spare bedroom for a couple nights?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after a while, he was, he told me like, well, your business model is pretty cool. You rent out your own house and then you come sleep here for free.
Yeah. Seriously, he probably wanted to get a beer out of that deal. Or something along those lines.
Yeah, I bought him some groceries.
That's nice. Yeah, you can cook friends meals, and actually, the home that when we first started renting out, I said that I was renting out my home with friends. What they will now do is say it's a 5-bedroom home in the Mission District in San Francisco, very popular neighborhood, and when there's a big conference or we have a lot of festivals in town. The Navy actually comes to town for a while. There's something called Fleet Week, and there are all these interesting events that go on. And what they will do is they will rent out their home. They'll list it for these specific days, and they'll all go on a trip together. And they'll either go camping, rent a campground, or they'll go rent a home somewhere outside of San Francisco, and put the home up for 4 or 5 days, and literally pay their rent for the whole month just from that one weekend, that one extended weekend. And they love it. It's a great time. It's a great way for the roommates to bond. And it's an incredible phenomenon where people realize more and more how they can, they have the freedom to make these choices that can meaningfully improve their lives, or, give them enough money to buy groceries, or to do what they want to do, or to travel. So that's just such an amazing transition that's happened. It's happened so quickly that it's almost, it's interesting to think that, 5-10 years ago, this didn't exist at all, or barely existed. It didn't exist anything like the form we see it now. But the pace of change has been really, really dramatic. I've actually got one other story about that if you're interested in it.
Yeah, go for it.
So obviously, what's interesting now is that the individual is now serving. Any individual can now become a host and essentially run their own small B&B, and most of these are obviously Airbnbs. But with the host becoming, with us as individuals becoming powerful members in the larger accommodation space, it's fun to see how hotels have started to take notice of this. And really, what you see is we as individuals can now compete with hotels. And in many cases, we're offering a superior product, right? We have homes and neighborhoods that might be more fun for visitors to stay in. We have homes that are close to friends and family. We have homes that might be close to parks or festivals or other things where hotels really don't have inventory. And I was speaking to the head of Sheraton actually about 1.5 years ago, and the first conversation we had, I said, yeah, I'm really interested in Airbnb, and and this larger trend around people renting out their homes. And he said, we don't care about that at all. He said, Airbnb and these platforms are just for backpackers, and that's not our target audience anyway. And I said, really? Why do you think that? He said, I just know. And I said, well, I'm actually an Airbnb host, and I've hosted probably 100 people at my home. And I don't think I've ever had anyone under the age of 25. And in fact, I have couples coming through who are, we've had professors and we have business travelers who would come and stay with us, and Google employees who would come to town for a week, and people coming in for a big conference. And I said, the demographics that I see are much different than what you're telling me. And we continued to talk about it. And so we had one good hour-long conversation. About a week later, we had another hour-long conversation about the change that we were seeing in this platform. And he said, at the end of that conversation, he said, Andrew, when we started talking, I thought you were crazy, believing in Airbnb and the change that's happening with all these individuals becoming more powerful. And he said, now having learned more about it, it's clear that what's happening on Airbnb is the largest transformation in the accommodation space that he's seen. And he said, I've seen 5 major transformations. This sure as hell feels like the 6th, and this is going to be the biggest. And I think what we've seen now is that pretty much the amazing job hosting, the amazing work people are doing, the connections that are being made, the trust level and the comfort level that we all have either renting out homes or staying at homes is again, it's such a global phenomenon. And even the largest players in the space now recognize that there's something going on that is fascinating. It's impossible to stop despite regulation, and we could talk about that a little bit. But it's just really fun to be a part of something that, again, we just see continuing to boom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting story. I'm sure we can talk about this for hours as we have done in the past.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit more about your Airbnb hosting experience.
Sure.
You mentioned you had a funny story to share.
I have many funny stories to share. Sure. And so I have stories both from being an individual host and also from my time when I was a property manager in San Francisco. And one story is actually that might be fun to share is just about one of the challenges of being a host. And so one time I had one thing, and the reason we're actually building PriceMethod now is we know being a host, being an owner is great, but we also know it's a lot of work. And when I was managing a bunch of properties in San Francisco, this became really clear when I got a call from a guest who was at one of my homes. And she said, we're locked in our home and we can't get out. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, we've been locked inside for 24 hours and we can't figure out how to open the door. And I said, oh my God, why didn't you call earlier? And I actually hopped on my bike. I biked over across town, and I got there, and the guest opened the window, and I got to the front door, and I actually couldn't unlock the door from the outside either. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is terrible. And the guest opened the window, and she said, I told you we couldn't get out. I said, how have you guys been doing sitting here for 24 hours? And she said, well, we've been having food delivered through the window, and we've actually had a great time. We needed to get some work done, but now we'd love to get out of the house. And so I ended up climbing in through the window, and I said, there's actually a back door that you guys can go out of. And then I said, let's try the front door as well. And we went over, and there's this weird combination of locks that you can actually. What had happened is that they weren't quite able to figure it out. And we walked over. Front door magically opened, of course. And it was a good reminder in how much, even though it's easier than ever to share your home and it's easier than ever to trust people, hosting people is actually a big challenge. And making sure that people are comfortable in your home, and making sure that people understand whether it's how to use the stove or how to contact a neighbor in an emergency or how to do something as simple as leave the front door. You just have to be prepared, and you have to almost walk through your home as though you've never been there before. And I think it's as much for me, kind of an amazing story of, wow, I never imagined someone wouldn't be able to get out the front door of my house, to realizing that that is a scenario you have to prepare for. And I'm sure many hosts have similar stories about whether someone trying to get in the middle of the night to the home that can't find the lockbox, or something not working, or we've had pipes burst in the middle of the night as well. One of the reasons to be a host is just stories you accumulate along the way of you can almost call them battle stories of learning how to kind of take care of people and make sure they're having a good experience.
Yeah, I definitely have a similar story where some of my guests couldn't get in, so it was in the middle of the night, so I was asleep, and they ended up staying in a hotel that night. And the next morning, I met up with them, and I just took their key and opened the door and let them in.
Yeah,
but you're right. It's if you've stayed at your house for a long time, you get so used to it. It's
right,
and it seems just unthinkable that somebody wouldn't be able to open the door.
Really?
But then I actually asked some of my friends who've never used that key before as well to try to open my door, and I noticed that some of them did actually have problems with it, because I guess you kind of have to like push and you kind of have to play around with it a little bit. I got so used to it that I instantly open it, but I did end up replacing the lock.
Oh yeah, did you go to an automated lock?
No, I mean I tried, but it didn't. Those locks didn't. It doesn't work on my door.
Yeah.
I'll look into it again, because there's a lot of really cool smart locks that recently came on the marketplace. One's called Open Sesame. It's a lock that you can control from your iPhone, and you can literally just send somebody a code that they can use, or you can even just I think open and lock it from your iPhone directly.
Yeah, I love that. I would love to check out Open Sesame. I haven't seen it yet. Smart locks are one of those things that are going to completely transform the space again. And we've seen some kind of fits and starts in lock technology as people try to get good locks out. And I think it's going to be solved in another year or two. But I'll have to check out Open Sesame, because last I looked into Lockatron in August. They were good, but weren't a perfect solution yet. So that'll be fun to see in the near future too.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about PriceMethod.
Sure.
Let's start with how do people use it? What's the benefit for the user? How much does it cost? And just the general details.
Sure. So high level, we are PriceMethod right now is a dynamic pricing platform for hosts. And what that means is we look at a whole lot of data and help any host price their home as intelligently as a hotel. So whether it's a conference or a local peak of demand or a slow season, we adjust prices. We look at how hotels are priced. We look at how your neighbors are priced, and kind of figure out how to price you on any given night. It's a fun data science challenge. And we literally look at about 500 million data points a day to try to figure out how to price the markets we're looking at. And right now we're available in most of the US actually. We're available in about 65 major metropolitans, almost 7,000 zip codes. We are actually looking to expand to Europe in the next, we'll probably be available in Europe starting in London actually in about 3 weeks. So the goal is obviously to provide worldwide service as soon as possible. And obviously, to do so takes a lot of data and a lot of learning, but we're on our way. And this is PriceMethod is a decent name for a company, but our larger vision is really building the bigger set of tools that we think hosts need, whether that's helping people capture last-minute bookings, whether it's auto responders, booking analysis, et cetera. There's a larger suite of tools we're going to build. And also the next fun step for us is really moving from price predictions to revenue guarantees. So our data science is getting good enough to the point where we can help hosts, we can guarantee hosts more money, and that's going to be the evolution of the pricing space itself. As for how much we cost, we are 100% free, and we actually intend to be free for about a year. And we do think there are other services that we'll charge for eventually that hosts will love. But as far as the pricing technology, it's good for us to be working with a lot of people. We learn a lot, and our model gets better and better every day. So the more people we can work with, it's good for us. And we actually think pricing should be free. It's essentially turning data, public data, into something that can help empower the host. And we like the idea that that should be a free service. Data's goal is always to be free. So that's why we're giving the service away for free for now in the foreseeable future.
That's awesome. How does it compare to the Airbnb's pricing tool that they recently launched?
Sure. So Airbnb's current pricing tool is great. I think the interaction is obviously fantastic, or the usability is fantastic. Right now, they're not doing automatic price updates. I don't know if they will, but and they also show you prices just for about 2 months out. So they're doing a good job. I think the host needs to interact with the prices to actually set them. What we do is we go in automatically and update every single one of your prices every single day. So right now we're doing daily pricing. Our next move is actually going to be to hourly pricing. And I think Airbnb and other places where people are selling homes, whether it's HomeAway, Wimdu, etc., all those places will probably have some sort of pricing tool in the near future. But we're channel agnostic, so we help people sell their inventory everywhere. We actually, because we're solely focused on pricing, we expect to move really quickly, and hopefully we can continue to offer a product that we think stays a little bit ahead of competition, even from the platforms themselves.
And how can they sign up? How can they use the app?
Sure. So all they do is come to our website, PriceMethod.com. They can create an account in about 10 seconds, and from there they can just link any of their properties. Once they link their properties, their Airbnb properties, they can turn on pricing for a day. For an event, we'll show them events on their calendar, or they can click one button and we'll go and automate all their prices for the rest of the year. And from that point on, we just go and update prices every single day. So it's very simple. It's meant to be as lightweight as possible. Again, if you want to turn on pricing for a day, for an event, for a month, for the year, whatever it might be, our goal is to put the hosts in control.
That's awesome. So basically, if it automatically connects to the Airbnb listing once you turn it on, and then you basically don't have to look at it again as a host.
You can, to use an old marketing term, you can set it and forget it. The goal, our kind of understanding of hosts is that there's a lot to do in a given day. Pricing is hard. Pricing should be updated every single day if you're going to do it right. So let's just make that easy.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know a lot of hosts set the same price for each day of the year. And, this is something that I've been talking about for a while, because I think by doing it that way, you really miss out on a lot of revenue, as you're pricing too high when demand's low and you're pricing too low when demand's high. So do you have any sort of estimate of how much people can improve their revenue by going from a set price for each day to using PriceMethod? Sure.
So the record I've ever achieved with dynamic pricing is a 52% increase month over month. On PriceMethod, we're a little more conservative. We say we'll increase revenue about 10 to 40%, which is pretty consistent. And like you were mentioning, Jasper, that's fairly conservative because a lot of the industry does keep prices the same on any given day. So that percentage, whether we're able to increase your revenue 40% or 10%, is partly based on how actively you're pricing now. So we do see some hosts who will come in once a week and update their Airbnb prices. And for those people, if they're doing a good job, it'll probably be closer to 10%. But for the people who have one price all year, who are both overpriced and underpriced for much of the year, we can drive very significant revenue changes. And we have a lot of people, I would say the majority of our customers are actually, we have a lot of people who have multiple listings who, they're people who understand dynamic pricing, and they're what we would term maybe professional hosts, right? They do it full time. And those people are, even though we're only maybe bumping their revenue 15 to 20%, we're also saving them a lot of time. So it's just a nice product in that what we think is earn more and worry less, and that's the goal.
Awesome. And let's talk a little bit more about this guaranteed revenue that you guys are working on.
Sure. So what we're going to launch in the coming weeks is we wanted to, again, I think the promise of pricing is great, and making recommendations is great. But one thing that hosts kept repeating is they're often aiming for, they need to earn a certain amount of revenue per month, whether it is to pay rent or whether it's to pay a mortgage, whatever it may be. And so the biggest risk for hosts in raising prices or adjusting prices is that they lose bookings. And we know that's not the case, but we know it's also frightening. So we're going to launch a revenue guarantee where hosts are able to come in and basically we can guarantee revenue for short amounts of time for the whole year, depending on the different properties. And we think that's the next step in pricing. So, the goal obviously with data science is first to be able to predict how prices will move and then to be able to guarantee it. So we're really trying to move pricing to the next frontier where we put our money where our mouth is and help hosts earn more while eliminating the downside risk. And it's actually a really hard thing to do. You need a ton of data science to be able to do this. And if you look at it, there's actually a company in the flight space did this recently where they've started to come in and guarantee that you'll get the lowest price for a flight. And the difference is that there's 30 years of flight data, and there's more flight data. There's much more flight data. So what we're going to do with our revenue guarantees, we'll launch it on a small scale at first with the goal of at some point being able to offer it to every host. Mm-hmm. And so in talking to your hosts, if any are interested, I'll be sending you some information, Jasper, but happy to work with your hosts in particular to help them earn more and really give them that downside protection that a lot of people want.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I talked to a lot of hosts, and one of the things that I think hosts do worry about is just what you mentioned, is not being booked. So I think if you can offer people a minimum amount, then that would be really, really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, we think so. And in talking to people about it, it's one of those things where people almost take a deep sigh of relief. They're like, "Oh, that would be so great if we had it." So again, we'll start on a very small scale, but and that's why we'll actually be sending out invites and people can apply for it starting very soon. But something we'd definitely like to make available to your audience.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think one of the reasons why some people still prefer long-term renting over doing Airbnb or one of the other platforms is the guarantee. When you rent out long-term, every month a certain amount of money is going to come in.
Yep.
So
that's true.
That's great. Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. It's been a really interesting chat. And for the listeners who want to try out the app, it's called PriceMethod, PriceMethod.com. I'll also put the links in the show notes, of course, and we'll update you guys soon about the guaranteed revenue that you guys are launching.
Excellent.
And I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing what the developments will be in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jasper. Appreciate your time too, and looking forward to talking more in the future.
Awesome. And for all the listeners, of course, you can go to getpaidforyourpad.com to find more information about Airbnb hosting. There's a lot of free resources. You can also get our book on Amazon. Just search for Airbnb on Amazon, and it should be the first book to pop up. And of course, every Monday, there's a new episode of the Get Paid for Your Pad podcast. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Get paid for your pet. 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 Get paid for your pet.